Bear, I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So about a year from now, I'm going to text you. I'm going to be like, so, Bear, what are you doing tonight? And you're going to be like, I don't know. I'm going to be like, hey, do you want to Netflix and choke slams? Do you want to Netflix and arm bar? If I texted your wife and I said, hey, can Chris come out and Netflix and Raw? What would be her reaction? Because that is the story today on Wrestle. Welcome back to WrestlePool. My name is Mike. This is my good friend Chris Bear.
What up?
$5 billion 10-year deal. This is exciting. So our morning started with a quick check of X, and it was reported very early on that WWE and Netflix came to a 10-year, $5 billion deal. Billion.
With a B.
B. 5 of them. Not 1, not 2, not 3. $5 billion. When I said that to you this morning, before our conversation that followed, what was your immediate reaction to hearing that sentence?
I think I was speechless. I heard the number and I was like just taken back. I was just like what? Like $5 billion over 10 years for Raw to go to Netflix of all places. Like we've been waiting for these TV deals, right?
Yes, absolutely.
We've been waiting to know where is Raw going to land. Because that was kind of the linchpin and a lot of other in AEW figuring out where they're gonna go. But out of left field, Netflix with a big, huge, gigantic offer, like. My reaction initially was shock and just, I think, speechlessness. But as I started thinking about it, it makes sense.
Now, to put some context to it, so Raw will be streamed, only Raw will be streamed on Netflix here in the United States, Canada, and Latin America. But all around the world, Netflix is now the preeminent home for all things WWE. Mm-hmm. So they are going to have Raw, they're going to have SmackDown, they're going to have NXT, and they're going to have premium live events in the non-North American markets and overseas.
Right.
Netflix has 247 million subscribers worldwide, and they are encroaching 80 million subscribers here in the States.
Right.
Wowzers.
Yeah. Like
talk about they've been saying the words like global reach, global market.
Oh.
Home run.
They've
done it.
Absolutely. I mean, it is no secret that WWE's market is the casual fan. The evidence is there and also I think that part of WWE's strategy is to bring new people into sports entertainment, professional wrestling, i.e. why Logan Paul is in the position he is in. You now have 80 million people in the U.S., 90% of them probably aren't wrestling fans, or they're connected to wrestling somehow. They have some nostalgia of it. They were everybody was a wrestling fan at some point, and maybe fell out, but they're not keeping up with the product. And now you've literally just handed it to them. And then 250 million people worldwide, global reach, 100%. It's insane, and this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh yeah,
this is nowhere near where this ends over the next 5 years. There are bullet points in here as we go through this that I'm interested in and that I have some opinions on. But yeah, what did Bray used to say on Owie Wowie?
Yeah.
Fuck.
So the interesting thing, so there's an opt-out after 5 years.
Yes.
But Netflix also holds an exclusive right to extend it another 10 years.
Right.
So I'm assuming at that 5-year mark, it could be like, all right, we're going to opt out. This is not working for us, but we can also, you know what? This is really beneficial to both parties, and we're going to extend it to 10 years. So we could be looking at minimum a 10-year partnership, but we could be looking at, and very well looking at, a 20-year
up to 20 years
Netflix partnership with Monday Night Raw.
And you keep saying Monday Night Raw. is still Monday Night Raw when it goes to Netflix.
So in all the press releases, they have been describing it as WWE Raw.
Yes, sir. Yep.
So it leads me to believe, and Nick Khan, who was on the Pat McAfee show today, had talked about the unbelievable competition with the increase in Monday Night Football and the reach that they're football's king in this country.
Absolutely.
The college football playoff and championships, the college basketball championships. There's just a lot of competition on Mondays.
Right.
So he also said that as of right now, and we're still a year away from moving to Netflix, it is still Monday Night Raw. Absolutely. But we need to start referring it to as WWE Raw.
Yeah, and that's going to be interesting to me. I believe, this is what I believe. I believe that whether or not it's Raw, we will still have a Monday night show, and we will most likely have a Monday night show on Netflix. Raw may move to another night. It'd be interesting what night they move to, but in my opinion, I think we're going to eventually have a regular 4-night-a-week WWE regular TV shows, and then you'll have your premium live events on top of that. And depending on the premium live event, you could be talking of up to 6 nights of WWE running.
Excuse me while I take a nap. That's a lot of wrestling.
It's a lot of wrestling. But the thing is that they have the content, they have the roster, they have the interest, they have everything to do it and do it well. And to tell really cool stories. So I'm interested to see if it's still Monday Night Raw in January 2025, whether or not it moves to another night. But I do think that there might be a 4th show coming. And I think that show will debut on Netflix, and that'll be a brand new Netflix stream show.
I mean, just in the last year, just let's go over some of the dollar amounts that they've gotten. So Raw estimated at $500 million a year.
Yeah.
Okay. Raw went up. Their current deal with NBCU is about $265 million a year.
Right.
So that's nearly a 50% hike in revenue.
That's crazy
for the company. SmackDown just signed 5 years, $1.4 billion. So that averages about $280 million a year for SmackDown on USA Network. NXT is reported about $25 million a year for the CW. Peacock is paying $250 million annually for the rights to the library and premium live events. So you're talking about almost $800 million to $1 billion annually for professional wrestling content across 4 different platforms.
From one company.
One company.
From one company.
It's the NFL and the NBA model.
Right.
Brought to professional wrestling.
Right.
Unbelievable.
It's insane. And this is what I believe that we are in a wrestling boom. I think that pro wrestling is on its way to being at the heights that it was in the 80s, that it was during the Attitude Era, in terms of ratings, popularity, all of these things. I believe that this generation and this era in pro wrestling will beat both of those 1,000%.
We're never going to know because these streaming services don't have to report streaming numbers.
I know.
I'm a big ratings part. I love to follow the ratings and the quarter-hour ratings to see how certain matches and things went. And Peacock, you just got to rely on what Hunter tells you in the post-premium live event press conference, or what they promote and what Peacock tells you.
Which is also which is an interesting move for the WWE, right? Because now, like, they don't have to depend on, I mean, and obviously I'm sure they're going to share that information with advertisers but they get to share the best information. Yeah. They don't have to share everything with the advertiser. So like, even in that move, like, you're talking, they're getting $500 million a year for Raw from Netflix for just to put the show on Netflix. You're not even talking about revenue that's going to come there is 100% going to be some sort of share in terms of new subscriptions because of WWE. There will be a share in ad revenue. I'm sure the WWE get a small percentage, but they're going to get a percentage. And again, then you bring Netflix's audience to the WWE, merch sales, in-person tickets. I can see that going up because you now bring that to a new audience. They're now interested and invested. And so live in-person events, ticket sales going up. Like this is $500 million a year for the show. Sure. But in the aggregate, this is going to be so much bigger. And I really do think we're at the start of a boom. I don't think that this is, if we're looking at this as a graph, we're right here at the bottom of this starting to take off. I think that this is just us in the countdown before the rocket launches. And when the rocket launches, it's going to be massive.
Is it just professional wrestling is in a boom, or is content now in the ultimate boom?
Well, yeah.
Beyond professional wrestling, because I don't believe it's a boom compared to the mid-90s, unless the AEW Warner Brothers deal is on par with what we're seeing here.
Right.
It's more the content. It's more the live content, because
Sure.
Netflix has soireed into live stuff with Love is Blind, I think. They did something with Formula One, something with Chris Rock had a live special.
Right.
So this is like their guinea pig.
Into live sports.
They watched Amazon do Thursday Night Football. Peacock does live sports all the time, but they just watched them stream an NFL game without a hitch.
Right.
So this is and by 2025, you figure they would have the live streaming part down, so there won't be any glitches compared to what we saw with some of their live streaming post shows that they had.
Right.
But is it content that's in a boom? Or you think professional wrestling is going to go back to the Monday Night Wars-esque type impact?
Yeah. I don't know.
Because for years you've told me content is king. Like for the last 5-6 years, before anyone's ever said that, you and your previous employment, you all were content is king. Content.
100%. Content is king. Absolutely. I think that, yes, content is in a boom itself, but I think that there is a particular interest that is happening in pro wrestling. I mean, look at all of the major networks have been clamoring to bring pro wrestling to their channels. The only one that seems to have maybe not wanted anymore is Fox for whatever reason, but the CW brought NXT, and they have NWA on the CW app. You're going to have to deal with at some point with AEW, and they're in a couple of conversations. It's not just Warner, from what I understand, is being interested. I believe there are other parties that are interested in AEW. And then you had a lot of bidders for the WWE. Look at how this ended up, right? SmackDown goes to USA. NXT goes to the CW. And then Raw goes to Netflix. If there weren't that many bidders for having this particular type of content on the channel, WWE would have waited to package everything together and tried to get as much as they could for everything. So I think pro wrestling is in a boom and is about to really hit a boom because of that, and just because of all of the people that want to be in it. Like all of the people that Logan Paul, Bad Bunny, is it Nicki Minaj or Cardi B? Somebody's getting challenged. One of them are getting challenged.
There were rumors that Cardi B was going to be at WrestleMania.
Like everybody wants to be part of it again, right? Everybody, it's cool again. And the reason that it's cool again, that people want to be part of it, is because of WWE and because they know what they are. They are a content creator. The content that they create happens to be about wrestling, but they know what they are. They are a content creator, and they create incredible wrestling content. And so everybody wants to be part of that because they know content is king, but this content is about to really take off.
So now Netflix is saying that there's going to be an ad base, which they have an ad based.
Right.
And that matches and the show is going to start to be scripted because there's also going to be an ad free version of Monday Night Raw.
Right.
So you're going to get those, like when Raw will go to commercial break and Sami Zayn has Drew McIntyre in a headlock.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to see that headlock last for like a minute or two until they come back to for the people who are paying for the ad-based service from Netflix. So that'll be interesting. Is it 3 hours or 2 hours?
Oh,
going to Netflix.
It's 3.
You think so?
It's 100% still 3, because you have to think about it this way. Netflix's goal is to keep people on Netflix as long as possible. When they were on TV, WWE's goal is to keep people's attention span for as long as possible. So a 2-hour show allows you to do that a little bit easier because it's only 2 hours. And so what that does is it doesn't dilute the amount of ad placement. So now you could charge more in those 2 hours, but in 3 hours you can have more advertisers. So it kind of works out. But the biggest thing is it's harder to keep people for 3 hours, on the show. But that's on TV. On streaming, Netflix doesn't care. Once you're on Netflix, if you're going to click off of Raw, what are they going to do? They're going to automatically recommend for you to watch something else.
Yeah.
So they don't care if you necessarily stay on Raw the entire time. Their goal is not to keep you on Raw. Their goal is to keep you on Netflix. So if it brings you to the platform and you watch an hour and then you click off and you go watch a movie or binge a series or whatever, that's what they care about. So I think 3 hours, it'll 100% still be 3 hours. And it's interesting you bring up the, kind of those breaks of, there's not going to be any ads now. Think about this. Because the biggest thing you think about that is, well, how are matches going to work? How are guys going to kill that time that normally they would just kill in front of the live crowd with, being out, somebody rolls out of the ring and that, they pull some antics and stuff like that when they're not on TV. But they've been starting to do, they're doing picture in picture now.
Yeah.
So with picture in picture, the match can't really pause and, can't have somebody roll, the match has to keep going. So they've been working on this little by little of okay, this is a 30-minute match in front of a live audience that's not going anywhere. Everyone is staying here. So we've got to work the full 30 minutes. So that's going to be another big reason why I think you're going to see a lot of these bigger names get re-signed. And I think we're going to see some real wrestlers coming into WWE because you're going to need guys who can work that, work a 30-minute match with no problem without any pauses. So yeah, there's so much coming with this.
There really is. Do you see any downfalls to this?
No.
Is there anything that this could be a negative for?
The only thing I don't like in this is Netflix is out. I don't like their opt-out option. Because what's going to happen at the 5-year mark when Netflix goes, all right, we're going to opt out. I mean, so I assume when they say opt out, it means that I don't know if they'll have to complete all 10 years and that, or no, I mean, from what I understand,
an opt out means after the 5th year.
After the 5th year, they can. So I'm sure that they'll have the WWE they'll have some sort of notice, before the 5th year is up. But at the end of that 5th year, now they've got to go to another channel or to another service or whatever. I don't like that. But in terms of this is a perfect deal for everybody. This is a great deal. The money makes sense. Obviously, Netflix believes that they are going to get a return on their investment, whether it's through subscriptions or ads or whatever. The WWE does not care about pay-per-view. They don't need the money from pay-per-views because they just got paid $5 billion over. They got paid $5 billion this year. And the WWE itself just made $9 billion from the sale to TKO.
Damn Vince McMahon.
In the past 12 months, they've made $14 billion.
Close to 16. Don't forget about the SmackDown and CW deals.
Close to $16 billion.
Yeah.
This is insanity.
So now, before we move on to our other main topic, What do you think the network Peacock's going to get? What do you WWE Premium Live Events and the library?
Yeah.
So it's $250 million now. That runs through 2026. That's got to be a $3 billion.
Oh, easy. I would say if that's not a $3 billion deal, that's probably a deal that's. I would think that this is as close. That deal will be close to the.
I was going to say,
deal.
now, isn't this the new benchmark now for
Oh, yeah.
I mean, where they're going and what they're doing, we expect growth, bigger events,
right?
Big names coming in, bigger names being re-signed.
100%.
That library just continues to
get better and better.
Yeah.
No. So I think that my opinion is Netflix will buy that.
You think Netflix will take the
100%.
So really they're testing it now because Netflix is going to have that for markets all around the world. But
Absolutely.
Here,
I think Netflix, if the rights were available right now, I think that this is not a $5 billion deal. I think this is close to a $7.5, maybe an $8 billion deal, because they would have just gotten everything, all the premium live events in the U.S., the entire library.
You might be right.
And so I think that, but here's the thing is, here's what's bad for Netflix in this deal, because they didn't get the streaming rights. If this works and it works well, when those streaming rights come up, if Netflix wants them, they're going to pay a lot more than they would have if they had gotten them now. They will pay a lot more then.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be worth a lot more.
Absolutely.
5 years from now.
Well,
or 2026. That's
spring of 2026 is when those will be
a little over 2 years from now.
So you figure that spring of 2025 is when we'll probably have a deal in place for everything to go wherever it's going to go. So yeah, I think that's going to be a massive deal. I think it goes to Netflix. I'm hoping it goes to Netflix.
We are both big subscribers, no pun intended, to the idea that everything be on one spot. And the other thing is, will WWE Raw be available the next day on Netflix and then go to Peacock? Or is WWE Raw going to stay on Netflix? Because it stays on USA Network right now for 3 or 4 weeks, and then it goes over to Peacock.
Right.
So is that still?
I would assume it's the same deal. We've seen that before. For example, Disney, Spider-Man. When Spider-Man gets released to streaming,
it goes to Sony first, right?
Sony has a deal in place with Netflix, so it actually goes to Netflix first, and then after a certain period of time, it goes over to Disney Plus.
Okay, so it's not unusual.
It's not unusual. We've seen these deals before, so I do think that that's what we'll see, is that Netflix will get it for X period, X number of weeks, whatever, or maybe a month, and then it'll move over to Peacock, which, again, like Netflix's goal is, this is why I believe everything will go to Netflix. Their goal is to just get you on. So if you're like us, who really wishes that we could watch replays the next day of a lot of these shows, Netflix has every motivation to do that.
Bubbly bear.
Netflix has every motivation to do that, because now I'm going to go onto Netflix to watch that episode of Raw. And then when I'm done with that episode of Raw and I'm like, okay, well, now I'm on Netflix already.
Yeah.
That's why I think everything is going there. I so hope
that's the case.
Yeah.
All right, so before we move on to our next topic, WrestlePool fans, this Saturday is the Royal Rumble. Don't listen to Gunther. It's not Sunday. It's Saturday night. On the WrestlePool YouTube channel, we will be live streaming our live hot takes of the Royal Rumble, all 4 hours, including the press conference, if there is one. So join us, WrestlePool, Saturday night, and we will be live streaming all of our opinions and thoughts about the Royal Rumble. So make sure you check that out.
Yeah.
So in our episode where we talked about booking The Rock and Roman, we both had talked about how are they going to get The Rock in this mix, not storyline-wise, but business-wise.
Right.
And we were like, what kind of deal can they make to bring him to Perth to be at the Elimination Chamber? Well, we know that's not happening. Nothing is being reported about The Rock. Well, today we found out. So shortly after the announcement of WWE and Netflix deal, it was also reported at the start of the New York Stock Exchange that Ari Emanuel, leader of TKO, has announced that Dwayne Johnson will be a board member for the TKO group. He is being given right now $30 million in TKO stock options. And he now has a seat at the table, no pun intended, for the WWE side of TKO. And not to mention, and the biggest news of the whole thing is the fact that he gets ownership of the name The Rock.
Right.
Because ownership is everything. And you could touch on that. Talk about, first of all, your reaction to The Rock news, and then also the importance of the ownership part of owning the name The Rock.
Yeah. So obviously that is huge. To bring in The Rock, first of all, to put him on the board is really interesting to me, because it's not necessarily I think you're right. That's how they get him in this match. But I don't think Rocky is here to just do the match and kind of be on the board and it's like an honorary. I think the man's here to do some business. And it wouldn't surprise me to see if he becomes a lot more involved in the business side, the branding side, all the promotion side of TKO and of the WWE and even of UFC and all that kind of stuff. So to put him on the board was really interesting. It gets him in, but to give him the name and transfer the trademark over to him, that's huge, because you think about it this way, right? Like, so in order to establish yourself in a marketplace with something that nobody else can use, you have to register it with the U.S. government under the trademark in the Patent and Trademark Office, and then nobody else can use that to make money with it. I can't put The Rock on a t-shirt and sell it because that's trademarked. Well, the WWE made that money and then they'd split it with The Rock. And now it's the other way around. Now Rocky owns that. Rocky is now the one who is in control of that name. So he gets to say, nope, not that shirt. Yes, this shirt. No, we can't put it over there. Yes, he's licensed this back to the WWE, so they have like a 10-year or 15-year use of it. So even after that license is over, there will still be a split. But this is the first time ever. Hulk Hogan, I think, owns his name.
John Cena doesn't own his name.
No, John Cena doesn't own his name. I think the only other person that I know of is Hogan. I think Hogan owns his name. But I don't know if that was just because of the times and he was savvy enough to get it, or if Vince wasn't as, at that point in time, wasn't as like bearing on, owning the name.
Mm-hmm.
But Hogan, I think, is the only, but John Cena, and that's John Cena's real name. Like, John Cena's real name is John Cena, and he doesn't own his name. So, like, for The Rock to now have this and have and be given this gift, it's huge. It also is such an indication of the changing of the times that are happening right now with the WWE. I'm not saying that I don't think other guys will get to own their names. Maybe some of the legends, they'll start working that, and people who are on the roster right now, they're not going to get to own their names right now. But now there's this door open where it's like, okay, if I do good enough and I become a legend, I can get my name and I can own that, because now The Rock owns this. He could walk into AEW tomorrow if he wanted and be The Rock. He could walk into AEW tomorrow and be The Rock, whereas Adam Copeland could not walk into AEW and be Edge. So it's really interesting. It's really cool to see, and we'll see where it kind of goes for the rest of the roster, I think.
Who do you think is on the roster now that you think is trending to one day be in a position to walk into a boardroom and be like, this is what you want from me?
Yeah.
I want this back.
Yeah. There's two people. That's an easy call. It's Roman Reigns and Cody Rhodes.
Yeah.
Roman is going to go the route of Dwayne, and he's going to go to Hollywood. He's going to be a massive megastar in Hollywood. And just be an incredible business person and be a personal brand.
Mm-hmm.
Cody's going to go a different route. I think Cody will do a lot of the same things. I don't know if Cody will go to Hollywood. I don't know if it fits Cody, but I think that Cody will become his father in this business. We just said to you last night, there's nobody that can say a bad thing about Dusty.
Nope.
And I think
all.
Cody's on that trajectory of being that person. His younger days behind him of, kind of being a stupid kid and all that stuff. But I think he'll be the other person who will be able to walk into a boardroom and say, this is what I want. This is how you get
Doesn't
me.
Cody already own the American Nightmare name? Or did he sign it over as a... Did he do a deal like this with WWE to license the American Nightmare?
I think he still owns the American Nightmare. I think he licenses that to the WWE, but I don't know if the WWE necessarily owns the name Cody Rhodes. That would be something we'd have to check. At the same time, it's not necessarily like, I think Cody's going to be able to walk into the TKO boardroom and demand whatever he wants at some point.
I agree.
Whether it's his name or something else that he wants or whatever, or I think Cody might be able to walk into the TKO boardroom at some point and demand all of the licensing back for his father's matches, War Games, Bash at the Beach. Those are all Dusty creations.
Yeah.
And for the longest time, they didn't use any of that stuff because Dusty wasn't involved. But once Dusty started getting involved, it's like, oh, we can do War Games, we can do back. So I think those are all Dusty creations. So I think he'll be able to demand stuff like that, and he'll get it.
The Pandora's box of new negotiations amongst athlete and company
It's insane.
are upon us.
It's crazy.
Yeah. So any final thoughts? And also don't forget, Saturday, Royal Rumble, we will be live on the WrestlePool YouTube channel. So come hang out with us and talk wrestling in the comments. Do we have a chat feature?
Yeah, you'll be able to chat.
Awesome.
Chat to us on YouTube, and we'll be able to be like, hey, we'll see your name, and you can say, hey, what's up? And we'll say, hey, what's up back.
Yeah, that's it. That's what we're going to do. We're going to say, hey.
Hey is for horses.
You can have cheese with all that wine. That's what I used to tell the kids. Any final thoughts?
Yeah, it's an insane time if you're a pro wrestling fan. If you're not a pro wrestling fan,
It's a great time.
it's a great time to be watching this, to watch this product. And I really hope that this is going to make other companies better, because I just want more wrestling.
More, yeah. I want better wrestling, and I also want a Netflix and chair shot. I want a Netflix and body slam.
You keep trying.
I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to find one that works. So far, Netflix and choke slams right now might be my favorite. All right. So I'm Mike. This is WrestlePool. That's Bear. We will see you Saturday night as the road to WrestleMania gets underway with the Royal Rumble.
Yes, sir.
Peace out.